Good morning, everyone. I think that we probably have just about everyone in here now, so we are going to go ahead and get started. So I'm Marcia Fadu. I work on the foreign schools team in Washington, D.C., and I would like to say thank you so much for making the effort and coming over here to be with us for this full day of training, which is going to provide you with lots of really, really good information, and it's going to be a very intense day. So this is the second year that we've been able to bring back the foreign school track. We didn't do it for a few years. The first year we brought it back was last year. I think we had 160 people registered, and this year you broke the record. We have 190 of you. So thank you. That's really outstanding participation. We're very pleased. It's amazing, really, to see so many of you here. So just a couple of housekeeping issues. So registration badges have to be worn all the time. They're going to be really strict on anyone being in this area has to be wearing their badge, and security will apparently ask you if you're supposed to be here if you're not wearing your badge. So please make sure that you do that. Sessions are recorded, so as much as possible, we would like you to use a mic when you're asking a question. I know if you're asking for a clarification during a presentation, that sometimes you might need to sort of ask it immediately. So we will try and remember to actually repeat the question, and if we don't, please wave at us. It can get a bit a little bit busy up here when you're presenting, so we want to make sure that's captured, because people who are not here will go back and listen to that presentation, so we want everything captured. The restrooms, if you haven't found them, are out the door, turn left, cross over to the other side, and then walk forever. And they're on the right-hand side. Yes, I was shocked yesterday. It's a really long walk. We're also going to do an icebreaker, and I'll tell you a bit more about that later. That's really just to get you warmed up and comfortable in the room and smiling, hopefully. So I want to start by introducing the staff who are here from the department and also from Federal Student Aid, mostly from Federal Student Aid. I'm going to start with Jim Manning, who is right here. Jim Manning is our Acting Chief Operating Officer. Jim Manning has a lot of experience with Federal Student Aid. He keeps trying to retire, but somehow he keeps getting pulled back in. So we're pleased that Jim is here today. And if anyone doesn't have a terminal, they can have Jim's special seat, because he will not be staying for the whole day. And I want to introduce Dr. A. Wayne Johnson. Most of you last year would have had a chance, if you were here, to meet Wayne. He had such a good time last year, so thank you for making him feel so welcome, that when I emailed and said, would you like to come back this year, I got a response in a minute, yes, absolutely, tell me what you want and when you want me. So I'm very honored that Wayne has agreed to come back and welcome you all officially to the conference. On the stage, I have my colleague Mike Stein, who everyone knows, who comes here regularly. Larry Vu is the newest member of the foreign schools team, so he gets all the hard questions this year. Mike and I need a break. At the back of the room, I have Mark Buskell. This is Mark's first conference, so please make sure that you have a chance to meet Mark, and he also gets hard questions. I also have Rafael Navarez. Rafael is from the department, and he's at the back of the room over here, waving and standing up. So Rafael works in the international office of the department, and he's our secret weapon, because Rafael has contacts all over the world with State Department officials. So if we've got a tricky issue, we turn it over to Rafael, and he sorts it out for us. And we also have Bruce. Where's Bruce? So Bruce, this is Bruce's first time presenting to the foreign schools, and he's going to be doing a new session. So we're very excited that we're going to have a new session to offer you this year. So please make Bruce welcome when he comes up to do his session. So I'm going to turn it over to Wayne, and he's going to welcome you officially and make you feel comfortable. And then Wayne's going to do the icebreaker again for me. So I'll be back after that. Thank you, Wayne.
And I'm watching very carefully to make sure that you're very careful on this stage. Last year, this charming lady was so excited she stepped off the back of the stage, and it was not a good experience. So we're thrilled and thrilled beyond thrilled that you're here today, and thank you so very much. So if we all are watching her carefully, it's because there's a drop-off back here. My name is Dr. A. Wayne Johnson, and I have the privilege of serving as the Chief Strategy and Transformation Officer for Federal Student Aid. It's a job that I took on approximately 18 months ago, and it has been the most exciting job of my career. I've had the opportunity over the years of being involved in financial services, the credit card industry and banking industry, and I've actually been involved in helping international students to come to school in the United States. But it was a great discovery when I came to Federal Student Aid and determined and learned that we actually have a program where we will send United States citizen students to schools across in other countries. And I was really excited when I discovered that. And I'll tell you why. I was 35 years old, and I know this is a terrible admission. I was 35 years old before I knew how to make an international phone call, okay? That tells you a lot about, at least my generation coming up in America, in terms of what it meant to understand the world, the global economy, and what it meant to work internationally. And I never will forget thinking to myself after I made my first international trip, education is about a cultural experience as much and even more so than it is about an academic experience. So on behalf of the United States of America, we thank you for inviting United States citizen students to come to your countries to learn not only the academic issues that are at hand, but also what it's like to live and experience the world. So thank you so very, very much for that. In just a moment, I'm going to show you a video, or two videos actually. One is a welcome, or it's not a welcome so much as a presentment of concept from our Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos. And for those of you looking forward to the session tomorrow morning, Secretary DeVos will be here in person. I've now had the pleasure of working with her, and I have never been more, basically impressed with a senior executive that knows how to, quite frankly, make things get done. You'll also see a video from Mike Pompeo, the new Secretary of State, again, talking about international education and its importance. So what I'd like to do this morning is, quite frankly, welcome first-time attendees. This is something we're going to start. Last year, I made a pledge that we would endeavor to bring on 50 new schools. Well, we're getting close, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But we do have some first-time attendees in the audience, so I'd like for you to stand up, be recognized, and so anybody that's new, please stand up. Wow, look at this. Look at this. Isn't this amazing from a standpoint of how many new people we have here today? Now I'd like to ask another question. How many new schools or new countries are represented here today? If you're a new school or a new country, please stand up. Okay, we have some people. Sir, where are you from? Sweden. So what brings you here today? Well, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. Good. And you? Colombia. Colombia? Okay. And I think we have somebody from also Brazil here. So it's a pleasure. And where are you from? Oh, Colombia. Okay, you got separated from the group. We'll join you together here. Is there anybody else in the room from another country? Okay, who have we got back there? Jamaica, welcome. How's the bobsled team? Ecuador, it's a pleasure to have you, sir. Mexico, thank you so much. Well, again, it's exciting and heartwarming, and it's particularly exciting to me to see people from South America. I had the opportunity of living and working for many years in Argentina. I've also had the opportunity to work in Brazil and Uruguay, spending time in Chile, and Venezuela. I was actually in Venezuela when Chavez came to power. That was interesting. So with all that being said, it's just an incredible pleasure to have you here today. So we have 182 registrants. I think that's pretty close to the number. I think you said 170 something. 27 countries are representative. We have 160 schools registered. Also, for those of you who are not aware, we have two types of programs at Federal Student Aid. We have basically the program where a school, like many of you here, can actually accept U.S. students. The U.S. students can take advantage of their federal student loans, and those are school-eligible programs. But we also have a program that is not completely and well understood, and that is basically the program of where schools in foreign countries can sign up for deferment status, which means that a U.S. Citizen student can go to school in that country and have any student loans that they currently have in the United States put into a deferment status. It's a great asset. It means that somebody can decide that to attend graduate school and have their U.S. student loans put into a forbearance period while they're in school. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that a little bit later today. I could give you a list of all the schools here, but I'll give you a partial list. We've got Mexico, New Zealand, Poland, Scotland, South Africa, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, UK. We have France, Germany, Greece, Grenada, Hungary, Ireland, Israel, Italy, Jamaica. We have Egypt, Dominican Republic, Denmark, the Czech Republic, Costa Rica, Colombia, Canada, Australia, and Antigua and Barbados. So, and I guess somewhere in the room we've even got somebody from the United States. Is there any country I left out when I recited that? Okay. So let's start off. Our AV person is where? Oh, right here. Okay. What I'd like to do right now is present to you the United States Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos. This was a presentation she made recently to an IIE Open Doors conference, and I think you'll find it interesting. Please roll.
Hello, I'm Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. I'm pleased to join the State Department in marking International Education Week. This week is an opportunity to highlight the benefits of international education and discuss ways to improve education for all students on their lifelong learning journeys as they prepare for today's and tomorrow's careers. Today's global economy needs students who are prepared with an eye toward tomorrow's opportunities. We can't presuppose what tomorrow's economy will look like. So students must anticipate and adapt, acquire and master broadly transferable and versatile educational competencies like critical thinking, collaboration, communication, creativity, and cultural intelligence. All students can benefit from gaining global and cultural competencies, no matter where their educations, careers, and lives take them. Education and the economy are inseparable, especially given the interconnectedness of the world today. A dynamic and changing economy requires dynamic and changing approaches to education. That's why everyone must question everything to ensure nothing limits a student from being prepared for what comes next. International Education Week is an opportunity to rethink and explore, engage with someone from a different background, taste a new cultural dish, study a different language, take a risk and open doors to a world of possibilities.
Well, we thank the Secretary. She is my boss, but she's also the boss of Jim Manning. And I've got a little piece of insight on Jim Manning. I was recently talking to him, and we were talking about foreign schools. Jim is from Boston, okay? The home of every university that a lot of folks, have heard of. But Jim made an admission. Jim actually went to school, his undergraduate degree is from Canada, okay? Why? One, great education. 2, a lot less expensive, and 3, he got to experience something different. So we have a testimony to, quite frankly, what can happen when you get an international education. You get to be in charge of this place. So we appreciate it, Joe. Thank you. I'm also going to introduce you now to the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, who will amplify to what Secretary DeVos has said. And again, tomorrow morning, you'll have the opportunity of seeing Secretary DeVos in person. I think you're going to find her comments quite interesting and quite exciting. But please take heart to what she said in this video. International education, it's a great form of diplomacy. And she recently was in Chile. She was visiting with our U.S. ambassador to Chile. And the U.S. ambassador to Chile, and I think Raphael was in the room, if I remember correctly. Raphael and the secretary both said that the ambassador to Chile said that education is one of the greatest forms of diplomacy. And so let's execute it and execute it well. Okay, let's see our Secretary of State.
Hi, everyone. I'm Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. American diplomats go to work each day to represent the United States all around the world. American students studying abroad also play a key role as citizen ambassadors. They tell the American story and demonstrate American values and ideals to the entire world. Nothing can replace the people-to-people connections that happen when our young people study abroad. Let's work together to provide more such opportunity for Americans of all backgrounds. This is also the third consecutive year that over 1 million international students are studying in the United States. We're consistently the #1 destination for foreign students, and we are pleased that young people from all over the world want to experience for themselves the American way of life. I call on all American universities, businesses, civic groups, and NGOs to promote international education and spread the word about the world-class education that American campuses have to offer. International education should be part of every student's academic career. Education exchanges, whether it's Americans going overseas or foreigners coming to the U.S., are among the most important tools in our diplomatic arsenal. They maintain America's competitive edge and preserve our leadership in the world. The success of our foreign policy priorities depend on them. This International Education Week, let's encourage American and international students to study abroad.
Thank you, Secretary. So we've heard 2 of the most important leaders in America talk about how important education and international education exchange is. Again, we need the universities of the world to be willing to accept the students from America, and we at Federal Student Aid stand prepared to power them up with the funds in order to make that journey and go forward. And so with that, I really, once again, thank you. Okay, going to have a lot of fun today. It's a lot of work. I think this session goes on till what time tonight?
5:45 is the finish of our Q&A session.
Okay, and then after 5:45, there's something pretty exciting, right? Oh, never mind.
There is. There'll be an announcement.
Okay, she'll take care of that. Okay, I don't want to jump the gun here. But you're going to be working pretty hard today. The most important work you can do today, though, is meet the other people in the room, meet the other folks. I had a chance this morning for meeting a good doctor from Poland, who's a good doctor who's doing work in Poland, and I had the opportunity to introduce him to several other people from Poland. So hopefully we've already started the communication. And the folks from Columbia, I think you guys already know each other. Amazed at how many people travel from Australia. So that with that being said, I believe, is there anybody that traveled any further than Australia? Or is Australia the farthest point that you can get to from here? Okay, well, for those who made that journey, I think it was 21 hours, thank you so very much. Who's the closest? Mexico, I guess, right? Or Canada? Okay, I got it. All right, so basically that concludes my remarks. I'm going to turn it over to Marcia, and she's going to be very careful as she walks to the stage. If I had a sense of humor, I'd pretend to fall off the back of the stage.
No, Wayne, please don't. Please don't. So just give us a minute to set up, because Wayne's going to be down in the audience and with my other colleagues. And so I'll let Wayne get a mic. Do we have a mic for Wayne? And then Larry is going to be with Wayne. And can you go get those, Mark? Can you get, Mike, if you can get that one. Mark, you get that one, and Larry will get that one.
No, he's not.
No, we're not starting yet. We're
Are we giving out stuff? Oh, yeah, candy again. Right.
Okay, so we wanted to do something just to get you moving and interacting with each other. So we have beach balls, which my colleagues are going to pick up and wave at you. Larry? So what we've done is we have 6 questions, 6 numbers written onto the beach ball. So you're either going to pass or gently throw the ball to someone else. If you have coffee or drink on your table, please put a cover on it and just put it under the desk. We do not want any terminal accidents drowning our terminals here. So I'm going to ask the question based on which number you actually land on, and then Wayne's going to mix it up a bit because he'll have some additional questions. We can't do everyone in the room, obviously, so we're going to do 4 here, here, and here. And the people who participate, we have candy to reward you.
Trick or treat.
And then I'm sure we'll pick a few other people, and maybe we should start with Jim for getting up so early and coming here. No, just candy, Jim. I'm not putting you on the spot. So we were going to start with Juliana. Are you here?
There you go.
Yep. So what number did your thumb finger land on? 3. Okay, so I'm going to read you a question that you then need to answer. So if you could have only one superpower, what would it be and why? I think that's our toughest question, actually.
To help the world.
And what was that?
To help the world, to become a free world.
Okay. And then,
Oh, she took that to mean a personal superpower, and so her personal superpower would be to help the world. Okay, got it. So we have a form of Wonder Woman
oh,
here.
okay. That's a lovely answer. We were all thinking about things like, okay, being able to fly or, you know, the sort of Superman stuff. So actually, I think you've upped the tone, Juliana. Thank you. You're all on the spot now. You have to think of something that's going to help the world.
It's because I like Wonder Woman since I was a child.
So to mix it up a bit, we also decided that rather than just put all of you on the spot, we're actually
She needs some
going to
candy.
put us on the spot as well. So I'm going to just pick a question that Wayne's going to answer.
Uh-oh.
So he's starting. So what is the most adventurous thing you have ever done, Wayne?
In Alaska, I was climbing a glacier with a group of Army colleagues, and my crampons, people from Nordic countries would understand, slipped. And so I slid and slid and slid and slid and slid down the glacier, and within about 20 feet of the crevasse, I stopped. I've never been so happy to have, plowed into the ice. But I would say that that's probably the most adventurous experience that I've ever had, yes.
And not to be repeated.
Certainly not without a rope.
Okay, so Juliana, you get to pick anyone in your section. You can throw gently or hand the ball to anyone. But let's not do one of your colleagues. Let's get someone. Anyone you like, just. Well, you're at your first conference, and so that's a good way to get you started. So what number did your...
Number 2.
Number 2. Okay, well, you get the same question as Wayne then. What is the most adventurous thing you have ever done?
Oh, jeez. I would say actually kind of just moving country without a job or anything, just kind of jumping into the blue to see what it's like to live in a different place. So,
Okay,
That's pretty adventurous.
that's
yeah,
very
it was pretty
cool.
scary to start off with.
By the way, this beach ball thing, I think as we get into it, it's going to be a lot more fun. I've never seen this particular icebreaker before, but I like it. Okay.
Well, we can thank Mr. Stein for that because this was his idea. So thank you, Mike.
See how far you can throw that.
And
down.
also, okay, we just need to ask one of the
Oh,
staff
that's
a
right.
question
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
So, Larry, you're closest, you go next. And I'm going to pick the question. So, if you could go anywhere on vacation, where would you go?
I would go on a cruise because they kind of pamper you and give you all this food, and I don't have to clean up and worry about anything.
One
just got back.
decision, what boat to be on, and then everything else takes care of itself.
I would like to try the Symphony of the Sea. It's the biggest ship on Royal Caribbean.
Okay. All right, when we win the lottery, we'll remember that one. Or take up a collection, I don't know.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Larry. Okay, where's the ball going next? Gently. Thank you. Okay, so what question did you land on? One? Okay, well, you get the same question as Larry. We need to mix this up a bit. But if you could go anywhere on vacation, where would you go?
Italy.
Okay.
Italy. Okay, any particular reason?
I really like pasta.
Okay, great. All right, Mike, your turn, since you're standing there. How old is your oldest pair of shoes?
Not too old. I'm pretty hard on my shoes, chasing down all your policies and audits, so less than a year, for sure.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, so we've done 3. We've got one more person to do in this area. Oh, Marika,
Yeah, it's well
well
done.
caught.
There you go.
Okay, what question?
I know, 4.
Number 4. What is the most beautiful thing that you have seen in nature?
Thank you. I think Nepal.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Okay.
doing trekking.
Wow. Oh, you did trekking in Nepal. Wow. That's amazing. Okay, excellent.
Animal. The yak. I saw the yak animal.
Ah, okay. Perfect. All right, Mark, your turn for a question.
I know everybody's thinking if they...
So-
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm picking the last question that we haven't answered, which is, so this is throwing you on the spot, Mark, so you can answer for America or New Zealand. So tell us something unique about your country that others might not know. So Mark actually worked for the University of Auckland for a good number of years. That's where we first met. So Mark was in New Zealand for a while and then decided to move back to the US and came to work at the department. So
I
pick
think I'll
your
choose the New
country.
Zealand one. New Zealand's actually 2 islands, a North Island and a South Island, just in case anybody didn't know that. That's I didn't know if they do that or not.
And which of the islands do you like the best?
Oh, boy, that's a trick question, Wayne. I actually got the privilege of living on both islands,
Okay.
and they're both different.
Okay.
If I had my choice, I would probably say the North Island.
Okay.
Partially because I'm standing right next to a gentleman who's from Wellington, from the North Island. No,
Okay.
it's, yeah, and I think from the United States, it's a very diverse place, so it's unique in that regard.
And is it true that there's a law in New Zealand that says you cannot export the seed of the tree of the kiwi tree? For those of
I'm
you who
going
don't
to
know,
defer to my. Is that true? Yeah, a kiwi is a bird, a flightless bird.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I was thinking about kiwi fruit.
Oh, no, you can export those, yeah.
I know, export that, okay.
Yeah, they are here in the United States.
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
one.
The zespri.
I don't get around much.
Okay, so we're going to move to the middle row, and Mike's going to toss the ball at some unsuspecting person, gently.
I'll try not to look at anybody in particular, so I'm gonna choose one of my favorites.
Oh, sis.
Do you want
Somebody needs to pick it up. They were just looking at it.
All right. Question 2.
What is the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
One time I went on a cruise that went to the small island of Dominica, and we went to this kind of hidden waterfall, and it was, just an amazing experience.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay, great.
She actually answered 2 questions at one. The most adventurous thing and the most beautiful thing in
Yeah.
nature. That's a 2 for you.
Yeah, 2 birds with 1 stone.
All right, you get to toss it.
And I'm going to put Bruce on the spot because he's at the back. And let me see, Bruce, what should we give you? If you could only have one superpower, what would it be and why?
That one's kind of easy for me as a trainer. I wish I could go back in time by 10 minutes and maybe change my answer to some questions.
Okay, that's a great answer, thank you. Where's the ball going next?
Somebody grab it.
Mark, can what
By the
you-
way, it helps if you reach out to try and
Raphael?
catch it.
It was 2 was facing up when I grabbed the ball. Number
Which-
2
number
was facing
2?
up.
What is the most adventurous thing you've ever done? We only have 6 questions. I'm thinking we should have had quite a lot more. We'll get that right.
I've done quite a few things, but probably one of the most adventurous things actually happened in the United States. I'm from Kingston, Ontario, Canada, at Queen's University, and I took my family hiking to the 5 national parks in Utah. And that was 2 years ago now, and we hiked up the Delicate Arch. And it's a beautiful hike, but a little bit scary. There's a narrow path that's only about 2 feet wide. And after we got to the top, it was such a beautiful view. And then we got back down to the bottom, and I thought, I can't believe I just took my children. I could have fallen to their death up this very narrow path. But we had a great time, but that's probably the most adventurous thing I've done with my family.
Great, thank you. Mike, can we put Raphael on the spot now, please?
Absolutely.
Equal opportunity for all ed staff. So, Raphael, I know you travel a lot for your job and personally, so what is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen in nature?
Let's see, natural, I would say that there are a couple, but my favorite is probably the Perito Moreno Glacier in Patagonia, near Tierra del Fuego in Argentina.
Wow, I knew you would come up with something completely exotic.
And the real question is, did you get some 10,000-year-old ice and put it in a drink when you were there? Okay.
Okay, so I've lost count now.
2 more questions.
We got one more this side, yeah?
Wait, 2 more.
2 more, okay.
Oh.
Oh. Okay, so the poor lady that just got bumped on the head needs candy for being hit with a ball. So,
Yeah, we'll do 5.
seriously. Okay, number 5. How old is your oldest pair of shoes?
I have a pair of winter boots that are probably 12 years old.
Wow.
And they are still in very good condition, despite being worn for several months every winter.
Wow. I don't know. Can I ask what brand they are? We all need to go shopping immediately.
I honestly can't remember what brand, but I've been thinking of getting another pair.
Okay, well, you can email us
I'm from
once
Nova
you figure
Scotia,
that
Canada.
Okay, so we've actually run out of us.
Do we have one more in this section?
We've run out of FSA staff. So
Okay.
now we'll just go on and do, we've got one more in this section, then we'll do 4 on
Wait a
this
minute,
side.
you got Jim Manning here.
Well, Jim told me, do you want, come on, okay, all right, Jim, thank you. I see other
And I think
people.
Linda's in here too. Is Linda in here?
She is.
And Deb?
Okay.
There you go, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, so
She's picking them up.
okay, you know, I'm going to do the same thing I did with Mark because you went to school in Canada. So tell us something unique about your country that others might not know, and you can choose the US or Canada, since you went to school there.
Well, most people wouldn't know that I'm from Boston and now work in Washington, D.C. It's about 500 miles from Boston. New England, the section of America that Boston is located in, is considered a small area. But the northernmost tip of Maine is actually further from Boston, more than 500 miles, than Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Most people don't know that.
No, I saw.
Most people don't care to know that either, but they have it.
Hey, this is learning on every level here, you know? So thank you, Jim. Appreciate that.
Would you like a candy?
Do you want candy? Yeah. Please make sure that Jim has candy.
There's a big bag of candy. When
a-
it's all said
yeah.
and done, you'll be able to collect some on your own. Okay.
Aw, thank you. That was kind. Have we got one more on this side?
One more.
Where's the ball?
Where's the ball?
Okay.
You can come forward as well as back. I know everyone's kind of been doing it. And sideways.
Be ready.
Hey, you can't just sit there with your arms crossed and ignore it, because we're coming for you anyway.
There you go.
Yeah, number 2.
Which question?
2.
2. What is the most adventurous thing you have ever done?
When I was on holiday in Greece, I'm really scared of heights. And there was, at the top of a cliff, there was a castle I wanted to visit. It was about a 5-mile walk if you went inland and back. And so I elected to go up the path going up the cliff wall and regretted it after about 2 minutes. But there was such a queue behind me, I couldn't go back down. And I had to carry on all the way up. There was no rail or anything. It was just sort of sheer drop. Absolutely petrified.
Wow. So you're not going back?
No.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so we're on this area now, and Wayne's going to throw the ball.
Okay.
Looks like he's seriously
It's
going
coming.
to throw the
It's
ball.
coming.
One.
If you could go anywhere on vacation, where would you go?
Where do I start? Probably Northern Europe, Denmark, something like that.
That's cool. And where are you from?
Dominican Republic.
Okay, so he wants to go that way.
Yeah,
Got it.
exactly.
That's cool.
All right, excellent, thank you. And I guess I'm going to have to,
I'll-
actually, no, Linda doesn't want to.
Mariana is back
Mariana,
here.
do you?
Mariana, would you please? Mariana is the Chief of Staff for Federal Student Aid, so we're very pleased to have her in the audience today.
We should have talked before.
By the way, everybody's getting these questions sight unseen, so, you know, I mean, that's interesting.
Yeah, we didn't share them. So, Mariana, how old is your oldest pair of shoes?
Why did I know you were going to ask me that question?
It's sort of a girl question, isn't it?
I'm a little odd. So I have a pair of vintage Ferragamos.
Oh, wow.
Really?
I do, but they don't fit me anymore.
Oh.
What size? Do we have an auction?
I think they're 8.5 if anybody wants to come talk to me later.
Okay. I'm not sure where the candy's gone, but we'll make sure that you get some, Mariana. Thank you so much. Okay.
Toss. Yes. Where, forward or back? Catch, you can't. They just looked at it going that way. All right, somebody pick it up, please. Thank you.
3.
If you could have only one superpower, what would it be? And why?
Well, my name is Elizabeth. I'm from Mexico. I would like to fly.
Ah.
I would like to fly over like rivers. I like to see natural scenes. So I would like to fly over, I don't know, mountains, hills to see how it looks from up there.
Okay.
That is
All
cool.
right, that's great.
Now you get to toss the ball. And I love the idea that you introduce yourself and where you're from. So please, next person, do the same. Would somebody please get the ball?
We'll have to give that one to you. There you go. There you go. Pick a number.
What was it?
What,
4.
number 4? What is the most beautiful thing you've seen in nature?
Oh, God. I don't know. I've had 3 babies, maybe.
Oh,
babies.
no, that is good.
Aw.
That is the
Well,
best
there
answer.
you go.
That was an awful answer, sorry.
No, that's a brilliant answer.
That's the best answer
Yeah.
possible.
No,
And-
that was lovely.
And
Thank
what's
you.
your name and where are you from?
My name's Rianne, and I'm from London.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And how many, what do we got? One more here?
One more.
Well, before you do that, we got a staffer. Is Deb in the, Linda, you want to take one?
Linda, yes, please. Thank you.
And if she won't, I'll take it. So.
No, Linda's going to do it.
Okay.
Which one do you want, Linda?
I find it interesting that people are looking at the ball go by.
I'll get extra candy.
You will get extra
Yeah,
candy.
okay.
Yeah, for being such a good sport. Thank you. So what is the most adventurous thing you've ever done, Linda?
Oh, that question, great. I have no idea.
Linda, taking care of all of us new folks who show up has got to be adventurous.
Yeah, I've worked for 7 chief operating officers at Federal Student Aid. And I work for many executives right now, and that's pretty adventurous at my age. How's that?
And she does it absolutely brilliantly with a smile on her face every single day and deals with questions coming at her rapid fire. So I really value Linda. Thank you.
Okay, who's got the ball? Okay, last throw. Please catch it, somebody.
You
Going
get
forward.
extra candy if you
She caught it. It bounced off his head and onto her
And
lap.
Philip gets candy because he also got
Number
hit on the
4.
head. Sorry, Philip.
Question 4.
4. What is the most beautiful thing you have seen in nature?
I would have to say Aurora Borealis.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay.
I'm from Canada.
Okay, do you see it often?
Not often, but when I go to countryside for camping or something, it's more visible there.
Well, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. And I'll do the last staffer. An interesting fact about the United States, following Jim's geography lesson, is the easternmost point in the United States is actually on the tip of Alaska. It's the tip of the Aleutian Islands. It crosses the international date line. So the easternmost point in the United States is west, not east. Okay. Well, it's actually east. You go west to get east. So it's right there when you cross the international date line. Okay.
Okay,
I'll turn it
well,
back over to you.
thank you so much, Wayne, and for Jim and Linda and Mariana and the rest of the ED employees who have participated in this. And most of all, thank all of you. We really wanted to just get you a bit involved and relaxed, and now we're going to throw all the really, really difficult stuff at you. But thank you so much, Wayne, for coming and doing the introduction. We'll just give it a minute. Please don't leave the room, though, and we'll get started on the rest of the orientation presentation. Okay, so we have a presentation, the usual orientation that we give you, because we know that we always have a lot of new staff. We probably will get through most of it, but we might go a bit faster than we normally do, because we wanted to have this whole session with Wayne and Jim and do the icebreaker. So we're going to recommend some sessions for you to go to for the rest of the week. And we'll talk about our team, the Multi-Regional and Foreign School Participation Division, the U.S. Department of Education structure and roles, institutional participation data, core activities of the foreign schools team. And I'm splitting this presentation with Mike Stein, so he'll be up here to talk about some of that. Method of payment, other activities that we do on our team, the technical assistance we provide, and also a little bit of an update on the Foreign School Audit Guide. So the sessions that we are encouraging you to go to, as Wayne said, tomorrow the session with our secretary, Betsy DeVos, is at 8:45. And I think that I would really encourage you to go to that session. If you want to actually be in the same room as the secretary, you need to get there early to get a seat. We do have overflow rooms where you can watch it on one of these big screens, but if you want to be in the room, then please make a point of getting there early, because it fills up really, really fast. Because today, you've noticed it's pretty quiet around here. Tomorrow is going to be manic, because we have over 6,000 people registered. So it's going to be just a mass of people tomorrow. And then we have the federal update, which I'd also encourage you to stay for. We have, that will provide information to you on new regulations, or perhaps what the department is thinking, the direction they're taking. So I'd encourage you to stay. That session is right after the secretary's address. The breakout sessions that we're recommending, one other session. Wayne will be doing a general session on Wednesday morning at 8:45. Wayne is really involved in what we call our Next Gen product, and it has to do with how we're going to allow students to complete their FAFSAs on their smartphones. So I'd really encourage you to go to Wayne's session, because he's going to have some interesting and new information that probably we haven't heard yet. So please go to that one as well. The breakout sessions, and of course you've got all the sessions, so you are able to schedule. If you've downloaded the app, there's a way for you to schedule your own sessions. But the ones that we think might be useful to you are basics of determining academic calendars, cash management regulations, return of R2T4, because we're not actually doing R2T4 as one of our sessions today, so you may want to go to that session. That will be very good information for you. Resolving eligibility issues for citizens and eligible non-citizens, that's also quite an important session, because you may have people who are not American citizens, but they may be green card holders, or they may be asylum, and they can possibly attend your school and use federal financial aid, so it's good to know about that. How to calculate an expected family contribution, and I know that's sort of meaningless at the moment for all the new people that we have in here, which is substantial. And then a session on internal and external threats facing Title IV institutions. So just briefly to go over the structure of the Department of Education, we have the Office of the Secretary, Betsy DeVos, and then the offices that we've starred here are the offices that we work with most, and I'll just point out a couple. As I mentioned, we have Raphael here this year, which is really exciting, and he's from our International Affairs Office. And we also have the Office of Inspector General, so OIG. They are tasked with investigations. So if you've been in the program for a while, you know that if you suspect a fraud issue at your school, you need to report that to the OIG, and they are tasked with investigating those issues. And some of you know that we don't tend to have an issue with students who are legitimately attending your schools committing fraud, but we've had issues with students who are posing as students trying to get money. So anything you suspect, you should just turn it over to the OIG. If they have questions, they'll come back to you. Sometimes we get involved in these issues, but we don't always know exactly what the results are because they do their investigations. So Federal Student Aid is an office of the Department of Education. We have 1,400 employees within FSA, so we are the largest part of the department. And we are based in Washington, D.C., but we also have regional offices that stretch from the West Coast to the East Coast. You met Jim Manning this morning. He's our Chief Operating Officer. And then we have other offices within Federal Student Aid: policy, our technology, finance, performance management, customer experience, and of course, risk management. And we have administrative services, acquisitions, BizOps, which is another office within FSA that we work with. And then program compliance is where all of us actually sit, because we are tasked with evaluating schools, working with new schools who want to come into the program. We have over 5,000 domestic institutions that participate in our program, and we have 393 foreign institutions. That tends to stay about the same amount every year. Domestic funding is $122 billion, and we have $1 billion going overseas to your schools with students who are doing a full degree program. This is not students who are doing a study abroad program and coming for a semester or a year, and they're coming through a US school. So $1 billion going to foreign institutions is a substantial amount. And most of the money goes to, or a majority of the money goes to our for-profit schools, which are the Caribbean medical schools predominantly, public, which is a lot of you, 27%, and nonprofit, 9%. We have 38 countries participating, 25,000, just over 25,000 students went overseas, and foreign cohort default rates, excuse me. For those of you who don't know, we track the loans that students borrow to attend your institution. It's on a schedule, so we're not tracking them for the entire life of the loan, but we do track them, and then we publish the default rates, and they are public information. So in about February or March, you will receive your draft cohort default rates from the department. That's your time to look at them, make sure all those students are actually attending. And if there's a challenge to that, that's when you need to do it then, because once the final rates are published in September, there's nothing that can be changed. So our core activities, actually, I can stop now. Mike's taking over. I was going to do yours, Mike.
I shouldn't have gotten up so
I
quickly.
know.
I should have just let you go on.
Thank you.
Good morning, and for those of you who I've met before, my name is Mike Stein, and I work for the Foreign Schools team. I've been with the department since 2010, so about 8 years. Wrapping up the orientation session, I just wanted to give you, a little insight into how we operate as a foreign schools team. There are, I think, about 11 of us that are dedicated wholly or in part to working with you all, institutions located outside the United States. And we work in about 5 core areas: eligibility, compliance audits, program reviews, method of payment, and financial analysis. So eligibility covers everything basically related to the EAP. So every time you navigate to eligcert.ed.gov and make an update or submit your recertification application, then get an error and resubmit it again, and then get another error and resubmit it a third time. Eventually, when that successfully goes through, it will come to us, and our manager, Mark Buskell in the back, will assign it to one of the eligibility analysts, which would be myself or Larry primarily, we will take a look at that application, get back to you with any questions, and see it through to completion. Something that we are trying new this year, so if you have a recertification due in the next calendar year, we are pre-assigning those. And so as they come up, Mark will take a look at the ones that are due and assign an analyst. So before they're even due, you may get an email from one of us saying, hey, just as a reminder, your recertification is coming up. Can you go ahead and send me your policies in advance, like your SAP policies or your R2T4 policies? And what we're hoping is that that will lead to an even quicker turnaround time. In the past, we had a backlog of recertifications, but we are all caught up with those. All of the recertifications that we have, the vast majority are from 2018. And so going forward, we're hoping to turn those around even quicker. And to do that, we might be asking you for some more information even before your recertification is due, so we can start working through any issues. We don't want you to submit your recertification application early. Still submit those 3 months before the deadline. But you might get an email asking for your policies. Compliance audits, so once your auditor submits your compliance audit annually, that comes to the department. It gets logged. We have contractors who review that, what we call screening those audits. And if they're acceptable, they're entered into our system, and acceptable means there's nothing missing from the compliance audit. It's on the parts that are supposed to be on school letterhead or on school letterhead, the parts that are supposed to be on auditor's letterhead or on the auditor's letterhead, and it has all of the sections in the proper language. Once that's accepted, if your auditor made any findings, those findings are reviewed, and sometimes, depending on the nature of the finding, they will need to be resolved. And so we have analysts that are specifically assigned to resolve those findings. You probably have heard from Alan Toms or Linda DeVito, possibly Jorge Matos. They might send a letter to you asking for more information to help resolve those findings. Generally, when it comes to compliance audits, no news is good news. If your compliance audit is submitted and you don't hear anything, generally that means if they've been accepted into our system, everything's good to go, no further actions necessary. If the audit is missing or late, or there's audits or findings that need to be resolved, that's when you'll hear from one of us on the team. Program reviews. We do a few program reviews every year. That is where we take a global look at your institution and its administration of Title IV loans. If you have been chosen for a program review, you will receive a letter and a phone call explaining everything that we need to go forward with that. Method of payment I will talk about in just a minute in more detail. But method of payment refers to how your institution receives Title IV funds, and there's some special rules around that. And then financial analysis. If your institution disperses over $500,000 in any given year, you need to submit audited financial statements to us, and our financial analyst, Tom Killian, who many of you have probably worked with, he takes a look at those and he gives them composite scores every year. All right. So method of payment just simply refers to the way your institution receives Title IV funds. Under the Higher Education Act, the Secretary, the department, has the sole discretion to determine how your institution receives those funds. And generally you receive those funds in one of several ways. Under the advanced method of payment, under Heightened Cash Monitoring 1, we call it, or HCM 1, or Heightened Cash Monitoring 2, or reimbursement. Most schools are on the advanced method of payment, and what that means is that once you submit an acceptable record into COD, those funds appear in G5 for your drawdown. Occasionally, we have a need to put a school on what we call Heightened Cash Monitoring 1, and the way that works is you are required to use your institutional funds or credit a student's account with Title IV HEA funds prior to drawing the funds down from G5. And depending on the reason for being placed in HCM1, your auditor may need to comment every year on your following the procedures related to HCM1. We also use HCM1 if your institution or one of its programs were to lose eligibility for any reason, perhaps your medical program lost eligibility for not meeting the U.S. MLE pass rate, or you choose to voluntarily withdraw, and even if you come back, students might be eligible for funding for up to 2 more academic years, so we manage that under Heightened Cash Monitoring 1. Heightened Cash Monitoring 2, HCM2, and reimbursement are both reimbursement methods, and that is, it's a little bit of a stricter method of payment. So if you're on HCM2 or reimbursement, you have to use your institutional funds to pay the student first, and then you submit a claim to the Department of Education, and we review all of the students in that claim to make sure they were eligible for the funds that they received, and then we reimburse you through G5. So basically, the reason a school might be moved from advanced to one of these heightened cash monitorings is whenever there is a real or a perceived risk to Title IV funds. It could be due to late financial statements or audits being received late, a program review finding, or repeated findings in an audit. So there are a number of other activities that we're involved in on a day-to-day or weekly basis other than those core activities I mentioned. We do a lot of new school onboarding. So if you're a brand new school and you submit your initial application, once you've been determined to be eligible, there's still a lot to do after that. You have to be set up on all of our systems, NSLDS and G5, and we work with others in the department to get that accomplished. We will, from time to time, publish electronic announcements, and we tend to separate those out onto the foreign schools information page on ifap.ed.gov, such as the one published this year on August 6th about the American Opportunity Tax Credit. And then we also maintain an international schools page on our student-facing website, studentaid.gov, where you can see a list of all the schools that are currently participating. You can see their status. There's some medical school consumer information disclosure and other general information that students would want to be aware of if they're considering attending a school outside the United States. We work with others throughout the department on data analysis and consultation. So our policymakers, such as Office of Post-Secondary Education, they're the ones that write the regulations, and we are constantly in contact with them about policy-related issues and questions. We work closely with the National Committee for Foreign Graduate Medical Education and Accreditation. It's a mouthful, NCFMEA. And this is a group of doctors that's appointed by the Secretary, and they're charged with reviewing the accreditation standards in your countries and determining whether or not they're comparable to those used in the United States, and that's what would allow a foreign graduate medical school to participate in our program. We work closely with them. Marcia mentioned the Office of Inspector General. So like you, we are also subject to oversight. And so the Office of Inspector General, as well as the Government Accountability Office, which is the independent investigative arm of Congress, they will from time to time come in and review our work to make sure that we are doing everything in a proper, fair, and equitable manner. And it doesn't look that different than procedurally wise than, say, what a program review might look for a school. They come in, they announce it, they tell us what they're going to be looking at. We have to provide files, and when they make any findings or have any issues, we have to provide written responses. Sometimes that drives a lot of the focus of our work. So, occasionally, all of a sudden you might start getting questions about a very particular topic that we maybe haven't heard of before. Suddenly there might be a focus on, say, satisfactory academic progress policies, and we're coming back to you with a lot of questions about that. And one reason might be that there was an audit done of the department, say, by the Office of Inspector General, where they specifically looked at that issue and had changes that they wanted to see to make sure that we were following the law. We're active in a number of institutional assistance services, so there are a number of tools out there that we've been involved in with the past, like the Foreign Schools Assessments, which you can find on IFAP. There's the FSA Coach for Foreign Schools, which is a good tool as a refresher, but especially if you're a new financial aid administrator or a new school coming into the program. We obviously provide one-on-one assistance. We take your phone calls and emails all day, every day, and we're happy to help when we can. And if we don't know the answer, we will find somebody who does. So we had these two slides last year, and we just want to make you aware that there is, as part of OIG, they have a federal and a non-federal audit team. So when I mentioned that OIG might come in and review our work, that would be the federal audit team. The non-federal audit team is charged with writing and maintaining the audit guides and overseeing the auditors that come into your school to do the compliance audit every year. They're a resource, so if your auditors ever have questions or concerns, they can actually contact this team through that email address below. They do provide technical assistance, and they issue audit guides. So we get this question every year, and everybody wants to know, when is the new foreign school audit guide coming out? And drum roll, no idea. Last update we had is that it is still under review. We haven't heard anything. I think they're still hoping to get it done in the next year, and it would be updated to reflect any statutory and regulatory changes effective as of July 1st of 2018. And you can see the web address there. It's a hyperlink. Once it's issued, that's where the guide will be available. If you haven't already, one thing you might want to do is on the audit web page, there is on this website, they have published the new domestic audit guide for proprietary schools. And while that is not going to be the same as what will come out for the audit guide for foreign schools, it will give you a good idea of how it's organized and what sorts of things your auditor will be required to test. Obviously, not everything in there is going to be applicable because it's specific to domestic proprietary schools, but a lot of it that is in there will be applicable to you and will show up in the foreign school audit guide. So if you just want to get a preview, that is a good audit guide to review. Okay. We have our contact information here. Generally, this address is where you'll be sending things like your audits, sometimes your Section Ls when we need a Section L signature. We have our phone and fax number here that you, of course, can call anytime you have a question or an issue. We do have our email inbox. These are both our general team contact information, but you're also welcome to contact any one of us individually at any time. This is just the contact information for all of our program compliance teams. You probably won't have any cause to contact any of these people, but you can see the Multi-Regional Foreign Schools Participation Division, which is led by our director, Mike Frola, who many of you have met because he's come here in past years. You see his phone number, Mark Buskell. We put his number on here, so he's our manager. Many of you probably remember Joe Smith from past years. Okay. Any questions about anything covered during the orientation session? So we went a little bit over, but do we still have time for a short break before Larry jumps in? Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and take a 10-minute break and have everybody come back by 9:30, and then Larry will do his session on satisfactory academic progress.
And is that still on?
Yeah.
So we have a lot of candy left over, so I'm going to put it on the desk up here. So please come and grab it.